Hello and welcome to this edition of Week in One. I'm Andrea van Wyk. Well, it was a big week at the state capture inquiry with former Public Enterprises Minister Barbara Hogan testifying. During her testimony, Hogan said Jacob Zuma hung her out to dry. She's accusing the former president of forcing her to appoint Siyabonga Gama as Transnet CEO, despite him facing serious allegations of misconduct at the time. Hogan says the board selected an exceptional candidate, but Zuma was hell-bent on Gama. She's also accusing the ANC of blurring the line between party and state. Aaron Bates has all the details.
Last month, former President Jacob Zuma's lawyer took issue with the delay.
We were told that the evidence will be given at 10 o'clock. What are the real reasons? If it was that the statement was submitted on Monday, what really stopped the Commission to circulate the statement?
Today, he was nowhere to be seen. None of those named have asked to cross-examine Hogan, and Zuma still has not presented his version. Hogan directly implicated the former president in wrongdoing. She's also criticized the ANC.
This notion that there's an in-house and there's an out-house, and the way to pursue your career is to walk a beaten path to Luthuli House and ingratiate yourself with the party.
Is there any legitimate role for the ruling party to make any input to a minister who is a member of the ruling party when she has to consider whether a particular CEO must be appointed, whether certain people must be put on the boards?
There's nothing in law that requires a minister to consult with the ruling party.
Hogan focused on appointing a group CEO to Transnet in 2010. Pravin Gordhan was the board's initial preference, but withdrew his candidacy. The board settled on Sipho Maseko, who Hogan says was outstanding. When she told Zuma, however, things derailed.
Did the president, the ex-president, provide you or the board with any reason why Mr. Maseko was not supposed to be appointed, when he insisted that Mr. Gama and Mr. Gama alone should be the one that is appointed?
He never raised objections about Mr. Maseko. He never referred to Mr. Maseko. It was just, this is my candidate. And Mr. Maseko was, he never raised objections or reasons why he should not be appointed.
But they never said anything as to why Mr. Maseko was not good enough.
No. It was just Gama, and that's it.
At the time, Siyabonga Gama faced disciplinary action. He was suspended, but Hogan says Zuma still told her to hire him.
I said, I can't do that. The kind of compromise he then said, he said, all right, we will wait until the disciplinary process is over. I didn't agree to that, but we then agreed that I would provide him with further information, which I then did.
Hogan claims she was under immense pressure to appoint Gama. When she resisted, she was linked to a cabal persecuting him.
What really offended me was that I was cast as an anti-transformation racist who did not appreciate the necessity for transformation in this country. And that really offended me. I expected better from my colleagues who knew my history.
Minister Jeff Radebe, the ANC Youth League and the SACP were among Gama's backers. Aaron Bates, Parktown.
Well, on Tuesday, there were more revelations and accusations at the Zondo Commission. Hogan accused Zuma of gross misconduct as she described a crisis in leadership at Eskom in 2009. Here is Aaron Bates with more.
Former Public Enterprises Minister Barbara Hogan detailed repeated engagements with then-President Jacob Zuma over Jacob Moroka of Eskom.
So finally on the Sunday I met with him at lunchtime and he said, this is the deal.
The deal was that Moroka would return as CEO, but the board was of the view that he'd resigned. Moroka returned to office in early November 2009.
It was, in effect, a CEO who had gone rogue completely, on the understanding that the president would back him. It was clear that the president had encouraged a CEO to believe that he was above company law, above corporate governance, and only saw himself as personally accountable to the president.
Hogan says the presidentially endorsed return caused havoc and gave her an uneasy sense of foreboding. She spoke of the politicization of boardrooms in Parliament. Zuma was absent.
What is this thing called state capture?
Former President Zuma has yet to tell the inquiry his version. And while she spoke about power trips in governance, there were several power cuts at the inquiry venue.
Give the management time to really fix the problem of the generator.
Counsel for Mcebisi Jonas applied for a postponement on his cross-examination. Chair Zondo was cautious about allowing this and reiterated a call for witnesses to avail themselves on the dates given by the inquiry. But he allowed for the postponement and Jonas will now appear for cross-examination on the 26th of November. He faces grilling from counsel for Fana Hlongwane and Duduzane Zuma. Erin Bates, Parktown.
Now, Wednesday saw Duduzane Zuma's lawyers weighing in at the commission. Barbara Hogan spoke of her suspicions about changed SAA routes, and Mzwanele Manyi testified about his role at GCIS. Erin Bates reports.
Wednesday brought a bumper edition of the state capture inquiry, kicking off with Duduzane Zuma in the hall and his lawyers raising a grievance. They took issue with the delay in the cross-examination of former Deputy Finance Minister Mcebisi Jonas.
This is severely prejudicial for him that the matter be postponed today, or that the hearing does not continue today. He has travelled from abroad to be here. He has appointed attorneys and advocates to go through the record and so forth, and to be ready to proceed with the cross-examination today. And most importantly, his wife is expecting a baby by the end of this month, and his presence is elsewhere required.
Barbara Hogan then spoke about the SAA route between Johannesburg and Mumbai.
The Mumbai route was the least loss-making route.
Hogan finished off highlighting the need for better protocols in government to prevent state capture.
The President and I had very, very different views on governance, on constitutional and legislative requirements of those in office.
And then, to top it all off, Mzwanele Manyi was insistent on giving testimony. Manyi says he texted witness Pumla Williams only to help. He's accused her of misconduct over a 26 million rand contract.
All this was in the empire of Ms. Williams, because what she had done, the chairperson, all supply chain reported to her. The CFO reported to her. The chief internal auditor reported to her. So everything was right here. And so on. No checks and balances, nothing.
Erin Bates, Parktown.
Still to come, Malusi Gigaba is no longer the Minister of Home Affairs, but he says his resignation is no admission of guilt.